So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You go back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, February 25th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, February 25th here today, coming off another big night last night in the world of sports. We had a very, very big Rangers win. They went out, really just dominated the Capitals for 60 minutes. I said it yesterday. They needed to score. They needed to score a lot. They needed to get chances. They needed to get opportunities, and they took advantage of those opportunities, and they were able to get the win 4-1. And it was really good. I mean, Igor, yet again, was phenomenal. He was about a minute 20 away from having a shutout. It was so close to a shutout. You know, it was just, like I said, about a minute 20 from having a shutout. But still, a one-goal performance from Igor Shesterkin, and had a really nice game, including a couple really nice breakaway saves. One of those included the breakaway chance from Ovi that he stopped. He had 36 saves, save percentage of .937, and I mean, really just remarkable what he's doing this season, and without a doubt needs to be the front runner. If he isn't already, needs to be the front runner for the Vezina Trophy. The stats show it. The eye test proves it. Everything about him, he's been amazing this season. And, you know, I'm going to get to him in a little bit here to start the show today, but it really just a phenomenal player. And night in, night out, you get to watch him. It really is. He's something special, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. So, really good win for the Rangers last night. I'm going to get more to Igor and the Rangers coming up. Tough loss for the Nets. It was bad. It was ugly. I mean, it's kind of what you expect. I didn't have high expectations going to the game. It's ugly. Still no excuses. You can't make excuses, obviously, for the players being out. You can't make excuses. You got to still find a way to win. But it's ugly. I mean, it's not good right now. So, Nets just need to keep chipping away, because, you know, things aren't going to get easier. They got the Bucks coming up. Then they got the Raptors for 2 straight games, which, you know, with the way we're playing, that's not an easy test. So, you know, we're in much need of reinforcements and players to come back and get ready to roll, because right now the team we got out there is not doing anything, and it's clear night in, night out. So, terrible loss last night for the Nets. They got blown out. Islanders battled till the end, 4-3, and they lost in a shootout to the Sharks. So, you know, close game there, and a much-needed win for the Sharks, who are on the outside looking in, but not mathematically aren't completely away with it. I mean, that game was completely even. So, Sharks beat the first period 2-1. Then the second period was 2-1. So it wasn't like one team scored 3 goals in the first period, then let up 3 in the third or something. It was really even. It was a close game. It was a hard-fought game, and the Sharks took it in the shootout. So, as for tonight in the world of New York sports, Nets have a day off. Rangers have a day off. Nets will be back in action tomorrow against the Bucks. Rangers will be back in action tomorrow against the Penguins. Islanders have a night off tonight, so the only thing going on is the fantastic, I'm only joking, the New York Knicks are at the Garden tonight against the Miami Heat to start up their second half of the season, and tonight there will be no Kemba Walker on the sideline. I don't think he's going to be on the sideline and for the rest of the season, so we'll see what the Knicks do with their rotations and the lineup. And, yeah, that's what's in store for tonight and going into the weekend. As we all know, big game tomorrow for Kentucky at Arkansas, 2 p.m. Eastern on CBS. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast. A lot to get to. Going to try to keep it, and kind of have to keep it to a 40-45 minute. That's why the intro is a little shorter. I'm going to start off today with Igor Shesterkin and his success. You can see today I'm wearing the Rangers jersey. Very happy guy today, given that the Rangers really got a really nice dominant win last night against a very good Capitals team that's getting close to full strength and getting healthier, it seems, day by day. I'm going to get to Igor Shesterkin, talk a little bit about last night's game as a whole with the Rangers, and then really take a deep dive into what Igor has done this season for this team, what he has meant for this team, and why right now, if the season went to an end today, he ultimately has to be the Vezina Trophy winner. And there's no doubt about it. There's really no argument. The statistical categories show it. When you watch him play, it's amazing. And there was a couple saves last night that I could really pinpoint just to show you how good he's been this year. So I'll get to that, get to the Rangers, and much more. And I also want to talk about Freddie Freeman today. I'm going to talk about him. I know it's kind of been a rumor going around. I know it broke a couple days ago. Actually, it broke really on the 22nd. Today's the 25th. So a couple days later, but I figured, you know what? You're never too old to talk a little Freddie Freeman and the craziness that might be able to happen with him. Who knows if the baseball season's even going to start? Who knows if the lockout's going to end? We got 3 days to figure it out. Today's the 25th. They need to make a deal by the 28th. If they don't get a deal by the 28th, the season's going to be delayed, and who knows when the lockout will end. So I'm going to still talk about Freeman, still going to talk about him. Will he sign with the Braves? Will he sign with the Yankees? What is he going to do? And should the Yankees sign him? Or should the Yankees, if the lockout ever ends, should they go out and look at a guy like a Matt Olson who's younger, or trade for somebody like that, or work with what you got, bring back Rizzo? What do the Yankees do? Kind of an interesting situation. I'll talk about that. And then we'll get to the New York sports update. By the way, I don't think Freddie Freeman's going anywhere. Just want to make that clear. But if he does decide to sign elsewhere, where could that be? New York sports update, like I said, tonight, all we got is the Knicks, Rangers, Islanders, Nets all have days off. Buffalo Sabres up in Buffalo. Sabres are in action tonight. So they are on for those Buffalo fans out there. They are actually on the road tonight. I believe they're on the road against the St. Louis Blues. So alrighty, so a lot to get to today on the podcast. Going to try to keep it to another 40-minute video is going to be my goal. And with all that being said, this is BSN Podcast, and let's get into it. Alrighty, so last night the New York Rangers defeated the Washington Capitals by a score of 4-1. They were able to get a really, really nice win, against a really good team. And the Capitals are one of those teams that's really getting back to full strength. They're close to full strength. They're getting back to it, and already a team with guys like Kuznetsov and Oshie and Van Riemsdyk and Ovechkin, obviously, and even their goaltender, Igor Samsonov, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Even him has been better recently and has been much better in terms of just overall, saving, and overall is just shot, his decision making as a goalie of, kind of when to, it might be hard to say, but like on a 2-on-1, and then last night the Rangers had a couple of those, and they missed a couple of them. Then they did get the one with Barclay Goodrow to really seal it. That was the final goal of the game, I believe. Even his decision making, kind of, he's not getting baited to one side or the other. Sometimes goalies do that, where they'll completely shift their body to one side, look at the guy, passes, nice cross ice pass, and boom, it's a goal because the other side of the net's completely open. So he's been better actually recently. And last night, obviously, he struggled. He only made 17 saves on 21 shots attempts, to 17 saves, allowed 4 goals. None of them were empty nets. All 4 of them went through Samsonov. So, the Rangers got a little bit of a goaltender that was playing better. And for the Rangers, like I said, going into last night's game, the New York Rangers needed to score goals. Like, you have to score goals. Like, the Rangers, and I know that might sound kind of an old cliche, but when you look at the Rangers' past couple games, it's been, look, it's 2 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, 5 goals, okay, they got 5 goals. That's been their month of February. 5 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, now they get 4. It's been a whole lot of relying on Igor Shesterkin to stop about 35 pucks a night, or 25 to 35 pucks a night, and them only scoring 2 goals. And that's not going to be the recipe for success come playoff time. And the Rangers realized it. I think the Rangers realize it. I think it's clear that the Rangers realize it. I think it's clear that Gerard Gallant realizes it. The fan base obviously realizes it, that they need to score more goals. And going into last night's game, like I said, they needed to score goals. Like, if they only scored 2 goals, that would have been a game going into the final minute 20. They got 4 goals. They had cushion. And that's the other thing, too. Then you can start to put some of your bottom lines in. McKay got some, a little bit more ice time. You had Zach Jones, who, is coming up. Morgan Barry. And Julian Gauthier, who, by the way, was one of those nights where, and that's where the eye test, defeats the stats. Because last night was one of those games where, I know he took that bad penalty late, but that's just a rookie mistake, and he does take a lot of penalties. That's the one issue with Gauthier. I think it's also been his time where he plays sometimes, he doesn't play. He plays sometimes, he doesn't play. So he's got to really get in a groove of the NHL game. And then once he does, I feel like those penalties will drop. But he had a couple really nice chances. Morgan Barron was making some nice plays, some really nice compliments. I know Laff had the excellent pass from Mika Zibanejad. But, Gauthier was able to get some really good shots on net, really good opportunities. He had the one really nice between the legs move that almost got it past Samsonov. Excellent move by Gauthier. He had the nice opportunity with the Morgan Barron. They didn't get it, but it was a good opportunity. Two young guys hustling, making plays, definitely being physical, getting the puck close to the net. And when you get the puck close to the net, the Rangers have done very well this season with that. Kreider had a goal last night. The Rangers last night, their offense just seemed much better. It just seems like they were in a groove. It just seems like they were moving with more energy. And they started off too, and I know they only started off with one goal in the first period, but it was like they just seemed to, they just seemed to really just, they just seemed to have much more of a flow, and their PK unit was great. Ryan Strome, I don't know what he was doing, having the two penalties to end the first period and end the second period. It was like he should have took one to end the third period just to make it a hat trick of penalties for the first of the three periods. But, oh my gosh, I don't know what he was doing. But overall, really nice night last night. And those are those games that we see last night, like the Maple Leafs we've seen, like the Florida Panthers games, where it's like this team can seriously do damage when they score goals. Like when they're only scoring 2 goals a night, and we know they're better, like we know they can be better than this. It's just a matter of finding that rhythm, connecting with each other. And it was good to see Alexis Lafreniere, like I said, get in a rhythm. And that's another thing. If he can start to find his groove, like he has nights like this where he's really not, really solid, has some really nice plays, and he has nights too where he looks lost. And that's a part of a rookie. He's in his second season. Last year was the weird 56 game shortened COVID year. So tough for a rookie to go into last season like that. But now this season is his full year. Like he's learning. And there's going to be nights where he looks really bad, and there's going to be nights like last night where he makes plays that's like, this guy's the future. Last night was one of those nights, and that's got to make you happy as a Ranger fan. That's got to make you optimistic. So, really good win for the Rangers last night, 4-1. They moved to 32, 13, and 5 on the season, and the Capitals moved to 28, 16, and 9. And another reason, before I really get deep dive into Igor, another reason why that was such a big win last night for the Rangers is they have games in hand from the Capitals and the Penguins as well. So if the season would end today, the Rangers would be their second in the Metropolitan. So first place is the Hurricanes, who have 50 points. They have 35 wins, 11. They're 35, 11, and 4. So 11 losses, 4 overtime losses, and they have 74 points. For the Rangers, they're 33, 13, and 5, and they have 71 points. Now they've played 51 games, so Carolina still has a game in hand. I think Hurricanes are going to win the Metropolitan. I don't think there's much of an argument about it. I think they're going to win the Metro. It's just a matter of how is 2, 3, and 4 going to line up. Is it going to be how it is now? Is it going to be Penguins? Is it going to be Capitals at 2, Rangers at 4, Rangers at 3, Capitals at 4, Penguins at whatever? Where is it going to stand? So right now, if the season went to end today, Rangers would be second in the Metro. Now, Penguins are right behind them, 53 games. And that's what makes this game coming up tomorrow, 3 Eastern on ABC, that much bigger for the Rangers. Because they still have 2 games in hand from the Penguins. So if they can win tomorrow's game and go up by 3 points and still have 2 games in hand, that is huge in terms of down the stretch. Having those 2 games in hand, having those 2 more opportunities to gain points. So Penguins, like I said, right behind them at 70. They are 53 games in, 31, 14, and 8. And the Capitals, after last night's loss, are really behind a little bit from the Rangers and the Penguins. Only 5 to 6 points. But when the third-place team and the first-place team is separated by 4 points, definitely 9 points from the fourth place to the first place is definitely a big drop-off. That's the Capitals, 53 games in 28 wins, 16 losses, and 9 of those 9 overtime losses. So 28, 16, and 9, and 65 overall. Now, the Capitals are they're gonna get in. I know some people are like, "Oh, watch out, Columbus is only back 10 now, and Columbus has got 2 games in hand as well." No, I don't want to hear that. Capitals are going to be in. I don't have any issue. I don't have any concern. I would be okay with the Capitals being out of it. I would love that because I don't like the Capitals. I don't like Tom Wilson, but they're still going to get in, and they're only getting healthier, and they're only going to get better, to be honest with you. But look, big game coming up against the Penguins, like I said, and for a Rangers team that's coming off a really nice win, going up against a really good goaltender in Tristan Jarry on Saturday. Another opportunity for the Rangers to win, and this Rangers team's just fun to watch. It really is. Like, the nights like last night really make you feel that this team can make a deep cup run. And then there's nights too where they lose 3-2 or they win 2-1, and it's like they won, but it's like we can score so much more. And last night was once again just an example of this team's potential. When they score and they get opportunities and they, play with a lot of energy and play with a lot of rhythm, they are one of the better teams out there, and they are legit. And I've said that for a long time. It's just a matter of building that consistency and scoring those goals, taking those early leads, holding on to those early leads, helping your goaltender out, helping your goaltender out by not making him have to make 10 saves in the final 5 minutes, right? So good win for the Rangers. Now to Igor Shesterkin. Last night, yet again, like I said, was excellent from him. And it's rare to see this from teams, and I'm going to use a couple examples from outside sports right now, where one of the all-time great goaltenders would retire, all-time great player would retire, and a guy would come into his position and take over. I'm going to use the Giants, for example, Eli Manning. He retired, and really, is Daniel Jones the answer? Really, we do not know. We could definitely say Daniel Jones has not been what many Giants fans hoped and wanted. I don't think Giants fans expected much, so that's why I'm not going to say expected, but they hoped and wanted Daniel Jones to be the guy. He has not been up to this point. Maybe with Dable and the new staff in there, maybe he can change that. You look at the Broncos, Peyton Manning, their quarterback carousel has been terrible since he's left. From the days of Brock Osweiler, to Paxton Lynch, to Drew Lock, to Joe Flacco, to Teddy Bridgewater. To Trevor Siemian, all over the place. They have not gotten their quarterback. They have not gotten their guy. So we always see this in sports where when a big-time player leaves or an all-time great leaves, it's sometimes tough to fill in their shoes. Yankees with Derek Jeter, he left, and the Yankees filled in his shoes, I would say, relatively nicely. Bringing in Didi Gregorius, had a really nice couple seasons with the Yankees, and now Gleyber Torres, who's kind of struggling recently, but he's not terrible. We all know how Gleyber Torres is, right? He's 50-50 around the fan base. With the Rangers, though, that's completely different. Like, the Rangers are one of those teams that Henrik Lundqvist has retired, Igor Shesterkin has taken right in his place, and Igor Shesterkin right now is one of the best, if not the best, goaltender in the league. And that's great. Like, as a fan, that's awesome. Because your biggest concern when the all-time great retires and then you have to bring in a new guy, somebody that manned, like Derek Jeter was that shortstop for, 2 decades with the Yankees, right? And then you had to bring in a new guy. I was like, what's Didi Gregorius going to do? He was really good. Same thing here with the Rangers. It's like Igor manned that net for over a decade. He manned that net for a while. He played his entire career with the New York Rangers, was a staple in New York sports. Will go down as one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. We bring in Igor, and he's done excellent. He's done everything we've asked for him to do, and that is be a dominant goaltender who night in and night out you could trust, who's going to be consistent, and ultimately who has the possibility of going down as another one of the all-time greats. Now, I know it's early to tell. He's so young. He's still got a lot of time yet, and I don't want to overhype him. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to say that he's the best of all time, but he is on his way to very well winning the Vezina Trophy. And in his 3 years in the NFL, he's only gotten better. First season, he went 10-2-0. Second season, last season, he went 16-14. This year, he's 25-5. So, in the game, in 25, I apologize. And yeah, in his second season, last year, he went 16-14-3. This year, he's went 25-3. 25-5-3. So, really dominant. And his goals per game allowed per game is all the way down to 1.98 after last night. And I wanted him to get that shutout so badly. I don't want to call it, kind of a dopey little goal. But, it was a little tipping by Ovi. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like Ovi slap shotted it, and it went 5-hole or up in his shoulder or top shelf. It was a little dopey chip-in by Ovi that kind of deflected off his stick, and he didn't really get the full puck on it. And he'll let it went in. And it is what it is. He still had one goal. But just look at his numbers this season and look at where they rank among goaltenders in terms of why he should win the Vezina. 25-5-3, tied fourth in the NHL. 1.98 goals allowed per game, second in the NHL. Save percentage is at .940. That is number one in the league. And shutouts, he has 3 this season. That is fifth. Tied for fifth in the league. So he's top 5 in all the major statistical categories in terms of wins-loss record, goals per game allowed, and save percentage, and shutouts is at 3. Last night he was a minute 20 seconds away from having his 4th. He absolutely needs to be the front runner right now. Because the jump, we always talk about that, like in sports too. The jump you take from year 1 to year 2 might be minimal, but that year 2 to year 3 jump needs to be big. And it's been more than big. It's been huge for the New York Rangers. Just to compare, his safe goals per game allowed last season was at 2.62. This year, all the way down to 1.98. I mean, really just amazing. 3 shutouts this season. That's more than he had in his previous 2 years combined. I mean, what he is doing this year is simply remarkable. And what he's doing this season, Igor Shesterkin, is what we should all expect and why we should get so excited, not only about the present of this team, because I do believe this team could be a threat if they score goals and, don't make Igor work too hard, which some games he has, and he's lived up to that, but also for the future. Because what we got is a 26-year-old goaltender who is having a breakout season, who in his 3rd year is really coming alive, and this season ranks top 5 in win-loss. He ranks top 5 in all the major statistical categories. He's 4th in win-loss, 2nd in goals per game allowed, 1st in save percentage, and he's tied for 5th in shutouts. Sorry, I don't know why I said shootouts. Shutouts. That is what Igor Shesterkin brings to the table. And last night was, yet again, just a pure example of just some of the saves he makes. And I've always gotten nervous, and I still do to this day. And I think a lot of Rangers, any hockey fan will. I always get nervous whenever there's a breakaway. They're always getting nervous, and rightfully so. Breakaway is one of those weird things in sports where when it goes your way, you're excited and you're happy, and when it's not, it's almost like a power play, right? You're happy when you give up, when you commit the penalty and you got to go shorthanded 5-on-4 and you got to run the PK. That's an issue. But the power, when there's a breakaway, I still get nervous. But now it's like when there's a breakaway, it's like I trust Igor. Something about him on breakaways, he's been in the zone. Ovi last night, one of the better players of all time, breakaway. You know how hard that is to stop? Igor stopped it. And he made it look easy. And there was a couple saves. Like I said, I think the one was, he made the one with his leg. I forget, I don't know if it was Oshie who shot it. I'm not sure. I forget. I know it was a nice pass across ice. It was in front of the crease. And it was a little bit bouncy. Kind of tipped off his stick a little bit. Couldn't get the full puck on it. Kind of whiffed at it the first time, got it back quickly, shot it, and Igor went from one side of the crease to the other and made a phenomenal save. And there was a couple saves last night, a couple opportunities the Capitals had last night that easily could have scored. And you talk about the 2 breakaway chances they had. You talk about the chance they had in front of the net. You already had the goal they already scored. They could have easily scored 4 goals last night. But Igor making saves, Igor making those gloves and those, cross-crease type saves and those breakaway saves where you watch him make those, he's just in the zone. And another thing, too, about Igor is he's so good at passing the puck down ice. Something that Lundqvist did not do very well, Igor can do very well. And he's one of the best in the league at doing it. I mean, he almost scored an empty net goal. It was going that way. It was like it was going straight at the net and it kind of curved to the left a little bit. When you get towards the end of the period, the ice always gets a little, it gets all scratched up and stuff. And sometimes you have a little bit of the ice clumps up a little bit. So it was like it hit a little bit and it went left. I'm sure many of you have seen it already. But that's another thing, too, that's added to his game that I don't think gets much recognition. Is his way to pass it up ice and his way to get the puck. Not just hold on to the puck and let his players get it. He takes the puck, he kicks it up the boards, and boom. Then you got a 2-on-1 going the other way, and guess who it was generated by? Igor Shesterkin. So, really a phenomenal goalie. Has done so great this season. I've been wanting to talk about this for the longest time, and again last night was just another example of how good he is, how good he can, and why we should be happy now and for the future of Igor and this Rangers team, and why we as Rangers fans are very spoiled that we got Henrik Lundqvist for all those years, and now to turn it around and have Igor Shesterkin, phenomenal. So, another great win last night for the New York Rangers. They moved to 35-13-5 on the season, and they wait the matchup tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC against the Penguins. Penguins, who, like I said, are 31-14-8. They're 70 points, so they're only 1 point behind the Rangers. Big game tomorrow, and got a couple more big games coming up. If you look into March, look at the games in March. You got a couple of big ones as well. You got the Blues to start. Then you have the Devils, which is winnable. Jets is winnable. And then you get to games like the Wild, and then the Blues again, and the Dallas Stars, who are tough. Ducks. I don't care how bad or good the Islanders are. Anytime the Rangers and Islanders meet, it's always a good matchup. Then you have teams like, Lightning, Hurricanes, Penguins again, Penguins. So, their March schedule's got a lot of good games. And they end February with a couple good ones as well. Penguins tomorrow, Saturday, and then they have a back-to-back. Tomorrow will be against the Penguins. Sunday will be against the Canucks back at home at the Garden. So a little back-to-back, and then they'll have a couple days off. And then they'll play Wednesday, March 2nd, against the Blues. So get ready for tomorrow. I'd assume Igor's the net tomorrow, and then Georgie's probably a net on Sunday. That'd be the smart thing to do. I would not play Georgie tomorrow, so you rest Igor for Sunday. Tomorrow's a bigger game. Sunday, you're playing a Canucks team that's beatable. The Canucks have kind of had a little bit of an interesting season. They're still in contention. It's funny. They still are very well in contention because still very well in contention. And if you look at the Canucks, it's funny. That entire division's weird. The Pacific's so weird. You got the leading team is at 66 points. That's Calgary Flames, who's had a great year. But literally, like the Edmonton, like San Jose still has a chance. And it's 66, 62, 61. And in the fourth seeds, the Oilers with 59. Ducks are at 59. They're the fifth place team. Vancouver's at 56. They're the sixth place. Seventh place team still has a realistic shot. Out of the 8 teams in the division, 7 of them have a realistic shot still. You look at other teams. Leader in the Central, that's Colorado at 78. Worst team in that division, 30. Second worst, 44. That's the Blackhawks. So really, the Pacific's very, very close. And the Ducks, Oilers all have realistic shots. Canucks have a realistic shot, and the San Jose Sharks are kind of more on the outside, but mathematically, still in. Alright, so that's what I got for Igor Shesterkin and the New York Rangers as they await the Penguins tomorrow. And, continue this season and continue this exciting run for the New York Rangers. Alright, so that's what I got for Igor Shesterkin, like I said. Coming up next, we're going to get into Freddie Freeman and the rumors surrounding him about the Yankees. Will Freddie Freeman sign with the Braves? Will he go elsewhere? What's going to happen with Freddie Freeman? We'll get to him and much more coming up next. All right, so welcome me back here about the podcast here today, Friday, February 25th, wrapping up another good week in the books as we head into a weekend which is very, very packed with a lot on. You got the Nets tomorrow night, you got the Rangers, you got Kentucky. So those are some of my favorite teams that are going to be in action tomorrow. By the way, I just wanted to show you this stat. So after the win last night, 4-1 over the Capitals, like I just talked about, before I get to Freddie Freeman, I thought this was interesting. Fewest games needed to reach 25 wins in a season. Igor Shesterkin this is among, the goals in franchise history, was at the least. So, Igor Shesterkin this season, he's needed 33 games to get 25 wins. Next closest is at 38, that's Ed Giacomini, 38. And then, Henrik Lundqvist is at 39. That was in 2014, 2015. And 5 others are tied with 40. So that's in Rangers history. So in Rangers history, in Rangers history, for a goalie, he has reached the fewest games needed to get to 25 wins in a season. That was this year at 33. And I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward he breaks his own record. Maybe gets to 30 or something like that. So, and it really just goes to show you, 25 wins in 33 games. That's pretty special. I mean, that's no joke. And that just goes to show you when he's out there, Rangers win. Rangers win a lot, and they've won a lot this year, overall. But like I've said, I mean, I don't want to be negative or anything, but Igor Shesterkin is really, not really negative here, but I don't want to sound like desperate for a trade at the trade deadline, but Igor Shesterkin has put this team on his back. Come trade deadline, Rangers definitely, I believe, will need to make some moves, maybe one move, to bring in some more scoring or bring in some more depth just to make this team a little bit better around Igor, right? So, but a great win last night and another great performance by Igor Shesterkin. So that was just a little stat I wanted to read just to show you more of his excellence this season. And yet again, like I said, to go from the man on my right here, got the Henrik Lundqvist fat head on the wall, to go from him to now with Igor is something that not many teams get to witness, because a lot of times it's an all-time great and then it's a whole lot of trash and then maybe you find your guy about 5-6 years later. But it's been a very flawless transition from Henrik to Igor, and Igor's only 26 and got a very bright future. All right, so let's get to a little bit of an older player and another sport. Freddie Freeman rumors. Insiders believe star will land somewhere outside of the Braves. So obviously the MLB lockout's still going on. They'll meet again today. It's Friday, February 25th. They got until Monday, February 28th to get a deal done. If after Monday, February 28th, they don't have a deal, they set a deadline. It's a deadline. If they don't have a deal by Monday, then the season's going to get delayed, and who even knows when it's going to start. So they have met every single day this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they'll meet again today. Minimal progress has been made. Not much at all. Little progress. But it's so minimal, it's not really close. It's not progress where it's going to be done in the next 3 days. Unless if one side really gives in, nothing's going to happen within the next 3 days. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I expect. And that's kind of what I expected. My expectations were low going into this week because it's the MLB. It's Rob Manfred. It's the players. They hate each other. I'm not surprised. But one of the other rumors, like I said, there's been a couple rumors going around baseball during the lockout. And even before the lockout, and even last season to end the year, the Braves winning the World Series and stuff and all that, was Freddie Freeman. And his name has been tossed around a lot in some free agent rumors, a lot in Yankees, a lot with, who did the Yankees sign? Is it Freeman? Who is it? Do they go out and sign Freeman? Do they go out and bring in Matt Olson, trade for him? Do they just work with what they got in Luke Voigt and Anthony Rizzo? What do the Yankees do? And as we all know, with the lockout happening, they can't do anything right now. But it is still fun to brainstorm. It is still fun to predict. Now, I still stand by this today. The Yankees need a lot of positions they're going to need come out of it. Whenever this lockout ends, they're going to need to address a lot of positions. Shortstop's definitely a question. Do they want to address it now? Maybe not. Do they wait until Anthony Volpe's ready to go? Maybe. Do they bring in a stopgap guy, bring him in, plug him in for a year or two, a veteran, maybe like a, Trevor Story or somebody like that? Do you bring in a guy like that? Well, that's kind of something that you have to figure out come lockout and what you'd be willing to give him in terms of money and how much you really want to pay him. Or do you bring back, I know Didi's name has been thrown around a little bit. I don't think I would. He's not the same player. I like Didi a lot. Nothing against Didi. But he's not the same player than when he was on the Yankees. He's getting up there in age. He hasn't done really what the Phillies expected him to do. He's been a little disappointing over there. So I don't know if I'd bring him back, but maybe the Yankees do too. So shortstop's definitely a need. Center field is without a doubt a need. I feel like the Yankees will refuse to address it because something about Brian Cashman and Aaron Hicks, it seems like it really is wild how much Brian Cashman believes in Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks, injuries, and even when he's out there, he's not playing well. Injuries, not playing well. Injuries, not playing well. Like there's some players that you could get frustrated about injuries, but when they're out there, they're making big time impacts. Almost like Aaron Judge or Stan. Stan last season, he made the big time impact. When Stan's out there, he's a true threat. When Aaron Hicks is out there, he's nothing. And when he's injured, sometimes it actually helps the team because you don't have to have his bat in lineup. And all people talk about is, the walks. Great, good. But he can't hit. He stinks. And he's getting up there in age too, so you can't imagine he can get much better. It's not like he's young and still developing. He's a veteran, and he's really, I feel like, reached his potential, and that's an average baseball player that's not really that good and doesn't deserve to be a starter for the New York Yankees. So center field's still an issue. Second base and third base could be switched around depending on what they do with shortstop. But DJ LeMahieu signed, right? The infield's pretty much set other than shortstop, and in first place is a question. Gio and LeMahieu got second and third down pat. Now, shortstop's a question, like I said. First base is a question as well. Catcher's a question, but they're going to bring back Gary no matter what. And I really don't know how long they're going to hang on to Gary. I don't know what more he needs to show you as to why we need a new catcher. A guy who just is not consistent at all. Not a great defensive catcher. He's gotten better, but he's still not to the level of some other guys that are out there that we could possibly look at. First base, though, is definitely a need. And first base, I feel like in terms of options, they have a lot of options at first base. They could go with Luke Voigt. They could bring back Anthony Rizzo. They could bring in Freddie Freeman. Or they could maybe make a trade for Matt Olson. There's a lot more options to help first base than there is shortstop, center field. Catcher seems to be pat with Gary Sanchez. And Joey Gallo's coming back. We'll see what he can do. If he has another bad year, if he's playing terrible, maybe you could see them dealing him at the trade deadline for a young asset or something like that, depending on how the season's going. But that's thinking way down the road. If there even is a season, if there even is a trade deadline, we'll see. But Freddie Freeman, like I said, his name has popped up. Now, I like Freddie Freeman a lot. I do. He's one of the best first basemen in the league. He's one of the better. I talk about pure hitters in the league, guys that, night in, night out can just hit the ball and, they're not home run heavy. They're not strikeout heavy. They could just hit the ball. They hit high for average. Like, that's what I'm talking. Like, Freddie Freeman is that kind of guy. And last season, yet again, he proved to us all why he's so good, why he's been so good, and why the Braves are going to make probably a strong push to bring him back. Last season, he batted .300. He had an on-base percentage of .393, almost .400. Slugging percentage of .503, OPS of .896. And oh, by the way, in the postseason, he batted .304, .420 on-base percentage, slugging .625, and OPS all the way up to 1.045 to help lead the Braves to their World Series championship, as we all know. Now, like I said, he is up there in age. He's getting older. And a lot of fans are concerned about that in terms of if you're going to sign him to a big-time deal. For a guy to sign Freddie Freeman, a guy who is 32 years old and going to turn 33 in September, if you give him a big 7-year deal, that's extremely risky because he's going to be up there near the 40 years old. Freddie Freeman's got about probably 4 really good years left. Now, I would love to bring Freddie Freeman in for the Yankees. I would love to. I know some Yankee fans are so anti-Freddie Freeman. Don't bring him in. Sign Matt Olson because he's younger and you probably pay him less and just that. And you'd have to trade for him, obviously, because he's still under contract and all that. But I personally would love Freddie Freeman. I would also love Matt Olson. My only thing is if the Yankees were to bring in Freddie Freeman, because what he brings to the table is what the Yankees need. Well, a lefty batter, by the way, who could really take advantage of the short porch in right field. A lefty batter who can hit. A lefty batter in general. A lefty in the lineup in general is nice. Now, Matt Olson, as we all know, a lefty batter in general would be nice. And that would be nice in itself to bring in a lefty batter. Now, Matt Olson is also a lefty. So, you'd bring in a lefty with Matt Olson, you'd bring in a lefty with Freddie Freeman. So you can't go wrong with either. Really what ultimately comes down to it, and I personally do not think Freddie Freeman's going to leave the Braves. I think some of these rumors are just more of, I'm trying to think, what's a good word to use? More of just smoke screens, or not even just that. It's pretty much just lockouts happening. They're trying to look for news to write about, and they're trying to find ways to make people intrigued. But, like I said, Matt Olson is 27. Freddie Freeman's 31. So, you're getting a guy that's going to be 4 years younger than Matt Olson. The real question is this. The real question is this. Do you like Freddie Freeman? And if you like him a lot, which I do, I think he's a great player. He's a lefty bat, contact hitter, can hit with runners in scoring position, has done a lot of winning, won a World Series, can hit with the short porch. He can do a lot. He's a modern-day, really solid hitter who can do real good damage. That's why he's a career .295 hitter, and he batted .300 last season, and he batted .304 in the postseason. So, you can't go wrong with either. The real question comes down to this if you're a Yankee fan. Would you be willing to sign Freddie Freeman to a 6 to 8 year deal with the risk of those final 3 years being really bad? Or would you be willing to give him a 3-year deal, give him a whole lot of money, bring him in for 3 years, up until 35? Now, the one issue with that is that in 3 years, you're going to need another need. So then you think about Matt Olson. He'd be more of a long-term solution. 27 years old, you bring him in. He's still probably got about, 8-9 good years left. He plays up till he's 35. Then you would have a long-term solution. So the Yankees kind of have to figure, is it short-term where you want to win now, bring in Freddie Freeman, a guy who just won another, bring in a guy who's really good, he has not shown any signs of slowing down, or do you bring in a guy who's more for the future, maybe not as good as Freddie Freeman right now, but more for the future, more for the future, a really good first baseman, another lefty, can do similar to what Freddie Freeman could do. Maybe not he hasn't been in the league nearly as long, so he hasn't accomplished nearly as much as Freddie Freeman has done, but you could bring in and trade for Matt Olson. So Yankees got to weigh those two. There's pros and cons to both. You bring in Freddie Freeman, you bring in a guy who's really good and he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. So that does beg the question is, since he hasn't showed any signs of slowing down, that could mean that maybe he could play at a high level up until he's 36, and that could give you a 5-year deal. But that's the thing, you do not know. You don't know if he's going to be good at 36. You don't know if he's going to be good at 37. You don't know if he's going to stink at 33. He might have one good year left and start to stink. Whatever it is. Right now, though, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. So I would be fine with both. Would I give Freddie Freeman a 10-year deal? I would not, because that leads him up until he's 41, and that's just completely ridiculous. Would I give him a 3 to 4 year deal, a whole lot of money? Yeah, because then that leads him up until he's about 36, and that's probably about the end of his prime, and maybe he signs elsewhere and he's not the same player. I would also be willing to go for Matt Olson, and maybe the Yankees bring back, maybe they bring back Anthony Rizzo with the uncertainty, maybe if they end the lockout and they just don't feel right now it's right, you bring back Anthony Rizzo, who's a solid asset. He's not Matt Olson or I was about to say Anthony Freeman. He's not Matt Olson or Freddie Freeman, but he is a solid asset. So Yankees got a decision to make. Or do they just roll with Luke Voigt, who I think that's probably the last option, but I would be fine with both. The only thing I would not do if I was with the Yankees and Freddie Freeman, I would not sign Freddie Freeman to like a 7-year deal, because that would lead him up until he's like 40 years old, and that's just not, no, I would not do that. What I would do, and what I would be more than happy if the Yankees did, because I would love to see Freddie Freeman in pinstripes, a lefty who can hit, and a lefty who can, a guy who could play just an all-around one of the better players in the league, is sign him to a 3-4 year deal. Lead him up until he's about 36, and at that point, he's probably towards the end of his career and towards the end of prime. But he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, and that's the thing. Like, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. So it's like, since he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, you got to think if you're the Yankees, you should go all out for him. Like, it's not like he's shown any signs, or the past 2 years have been a little bit of a down year. Like, he's continuing to play at a high level at 32, and he remains healthy. Knock on wood, he hasn't really suffered from any injuries. I mean, there's a lot to like about Freddie Freeman. There's also a lot to like about Matt Olson. So, if I was the Yankees, I'd definitely look at Freddie Freeman if the lockout ends, and I'd definitely take the chance on him. It's just a matter of how many years would you want, and are you willing to give a guy a 5-year deal who's already 32. So comment down below your thoughts. I would love to have him on the team. I would love to see him in the Yankee uniform. Matt Olson will also be nice. Both guys, you really can't go wrong with two really, really good assets that the Yankees should and can add come MLB lockout ending and come free agency resuming. So Freddie Freeman rumors, insiders believe star will land somewhere outside of Braves. I'll read this quick article here. Though most around MLB had expected free agent first baseman Freddie Freeman to return to Atlanta Braves this offseason, ESPN's Buster Olney reported the industry views have shifted. There has been a reported standoff in negotiations with Freeman seeking a 6-year deal, while the Braves offer him $135 million over 5 years. It could cause the 32-year-old to land somewhere outside of Atlanta, Olney reported. I think the Braves will move quickly to settle on an alternative and move on to get past the conversation, an official told Olney. I think he stays with the Braves, like I said. That does beg the question, though. A 6-year deal, or do you want to give a guy who's 32 a 6-year deal? That's the question. It's all opinionated at this point. Are you willing to give a guy a 6-year deal leading up until he's 38 years old? Are you willing to do that? And if you are, good, then take him. If you're not, then Matt Olson might be the better guy for you. That's really where we stand with this. Teams are unable to sign free agents during the current lockout, but both sides could seek new options when the offseason resumes, whenever that may be. Freeman helped win the Braves their first World Series title since 1995 last season, hitting 2 home runs with a .318 batting average in the series win over the Houston Astros. It came after a strong 2021 season where he hit .300 with 31 home runs and a league-best 120 runs scored, entering his 5th All-Star appearance in the process. In 2020, Freeman won the NL MVP with his career-best .341 batting average and 1.102 OPS. Even 12 seasons into his major league career, Freeman can make a significant impact on the field. It would make him a great fit on many MLB teams, although few could afford him. Only listed New York Yankees, the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers as two possibilities, but the price tag could be more than either team wants to spend. This could limit Freeman's option if he does not return to the Braves for a 13th season. So we'll see how it goes. But I would love to see him in pinstripes. It's just a matter of how long do you want to make that deal, and are you willing to give a guy that much money who's already 32 years old? But I would love to see him in pinstripes. I really would. It's just a matter of how long do we really sign him. We'll see. All right, so let's get to the New York sports update and wrap it up. Raptors, Hornets, I'll give Raptors to win. Magic, Rockets, I'll give Magic to win. Spurs, Wizards, I'll take the Spurs. Pacers, Thunder, I'll take the Pacers. Heat, Knicks tonight on ESPN, I'll take the Heat. 76ers, Timberwolves, I'll take the 76ers. Jazz, Mavericks, I'll take the Jazz. Suns, Pelicans, I'll take the Suns. Lakers, Clippers, I will take the Clippers. As for the NHL, we got the Blue Jackets, Hurricanes. I'll give Hurricanes to win. Sabres, Blues. I'll take the Blues. Blackhawks, Devils. I'll take the Blackhawks. Avalanche, Jets. I'll take the Avalanche. Coyotes, Golden Knights. I'll take the Golden Knights. And Kings, Ducks. I will take the Ducks. As for college basketball, we got one top 25 game tonight. Iowa versus Nebraska. I will take Iowa. And we'll get to the fantasy basketball update here and finish off the podcast today. In fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 975 to 926, so it's close. But today I've got going, let's see here. Just got to load. All right. So today I've got going Donovan Mitchell, Buddy Hield, Brandon Ingram, Miles Bridges, Kelly Oubre, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Tyrese Maxey. The lineup is healthy that's in today, and we'll see how it all plays out. Alrighty, so that will do it for the podcast here today. Another good one in the books and another good week in the books. I will see you all back here. Hopefully, first of all, enjoy your weekend. Kentucky, Arkansas tomorrow. So a lot going on tomorrow and a lot going on in the world of sports as we hit the weekend. So I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. As always, take the weekends off. So I will see you all back here on Monday. And by the way, on Apple Podcasts Sunday, I will be doing my Bubs Talking Baseball. So if you're interested in that, nothing will be uploaded on YouTube over the weekend, but Sunday I will be doing my Bubs Talking Baseball Apple podcast that I just started. So I'll talk about that. I'll do that on Sunday, so if you're interested in checking that out. But as for YouTube and as for the regular Monday through Friday, I'll see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.